whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
Thank you so much for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show, live every day, Monday through Friday. There's the music. Starting at noon Pacific time. Thank you. I hope you all had a fabulous weekend. My voice is a little raspy, not because of the cold, not only because of the cold that I had. Quite a fun night last night. Stayed out a bit too late with the ladies, so that story's coming up when the other lady on this show, Kim McAllister, joins us. We'll be sharing that story. Click that thumbs up button. Pardon me, while I'm thinking about it, really helps to support the show. Of course, the super chat is open. You can donate to the show this way. It's very simple. Look for that $sign underneath the comment box, the live chat that's going on throughout this entire show. And we always appreciate it. We will give you shouts out live on the show every single day for every single donation. And of course, please become a monthly Patreon subscriber to the Nikki Medoro Show. It's really easy. You just go to thenikkimedoroshow.com and there's a link to the Patreon. And I love all my Patreon subscribers. You get early access to all sorts of stuff like the merchandise we now have for sale at the Nikki Medoro Shop.com, the NikkiMedoroShop.com. That's where you can get some merchandise. I'm already getting some viewers pictures, so I'll share at least one of those with you at some point throughout the show. And we always appreciate everybody that is supporting us. And hello to everybody on Facebook. You guys can view me on Facebook. You can view me on obviously YouTube, and you could watch me anytime, even if you're not watching this live. You can listen to us and you can donate in the live chat, even if it's not live when you're watching it. So there's many ways to support the Nikki Medoro Show, and I appreciate every single one of you. All right, coming up on this show, we will talk a bit about the final January 6th committee. We would be remiss to not talk a little bit about it. And I want in the live chat for you guys to tell me, what do you think? Should he face criminal charges? Do you think that this country can heal if he does or does not face, and he being the former president, face criminal charges? Because there's two thoughts there. One is no, let it go. People don't like him anyway. I mean, his poll numbers are abysmal. He doesn't seem to have the same popularity, or does he? But also, what message does it send if we do or we don't file these criminal charges against the former president for what I believe the January 6th committee has proven very clearly? We'll also touch on Twitter another day, another story about Twitter. Now, Elon Musk is taking away people's ability to cross-promote. So if you only go on Twitter to kind of promote something on Instagram, or I guess TikTok, or another social media platform, you can't do that anymore. I guess your tweets will be deleted. Do you think that's smart? Or is this just another way that Elon Musk is destroying the social media platform that he paid $44 billion for? Interesting exchange between Martha Raddatz and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And it's a basic question. Who is really telegraphing to not only the American public, but to migrants, asylum seekers, whomever across the border, that the U.S. borders are open? If I say, who is telling these people that the borders are open, what name, what political party comes to mind? You tell me, because I'll play you the exchange, and it was quite of an interesting take on it. We'll touch on homelessness tomorrow. LA Mayor Karen Bass is supposed to unveil more details of her homelessness plans. And so we'll touch on them. Is it any different? Are you expecting anything different? And in California, which is arguably facing the worst homeless crisis in the country, there are some areas where things are working and other areas where they won't. And I will tell you what I think It tops the list of the biggest problem when it comes to a city's inability to house its homeless. Kevin De Leon, we haven't really touched on this. I know Kim McAllister had on our old KGO colleague Jennifer Jones-Lee when she was filling in on Mark's show last week, talking about Kevin De Leon. I mean, he cannot show up at a city council meeting without people protesting, screaming, yelling. And this, of course, is over that leaked recording of him and other people kind of making these racist comments. And so my question to you is it about time he resigned, or is his apology enough? So you guys will tell me. I have some feel-good stories coming up as well. So a big day today, but we have to start, of course, with the January 6th committee. Now, it just wrapped up about an hour ago. It was on C-SPAN. I listened to most of it. I want to play you some sound. And this was of the opening with Liz Cheney, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, of course. Her political career is over. Sadly, I say. I don't think the GOP made the right move in abandoning her. I think they really could have. And you know what? I think that if the GOP would have had some spine, right? I mean, like, we don't like it, but yes, it looks like the former president did X, Y, and Z that led to January 6th. They might have done better in the midterms, in my opinion. But listen to it. I'll play it for you. I'm going to share my screen. And of course, let me know in the chat room if you can hear it or not. But this, of course, is the opening statement of Congresswoman Liz Cheney. And it's really, really quite telling. Here we go.
The orderly transfer of authority as called for in the Constitution routinely takes place, as it has for almost 2 centuries, and few of us stop to think how unique we really are. In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony that we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle. Mm-hmm. Every president in our history has defended this orderly transfer of authority, except one. Mm-hmm. January 6th, 2021 was the first time one American president refused his constitutional duty to transfer power peacefully to the next. In our work over the last 18 months, the Select Committee has recognized our obligation to do everything we can to ensure this never happens again. At the beginning of our investigation, we understood that tens of millions of Americans had been persuaded by President Trump that the 2020 election was stolen by overwhelming fraud. And we also knew this was flatly false. We knew that dozens of state and federal judges had addressed and resolved all manner of allegations about the election. Our legal system functioned as it should, but our president would not accept the outcome. Among the most shameful of this committee's findings was that President Trump sat in the dining room off the Oval Office, watching the violent riot at the Capitol on television. For hours, he would not issue a public statement instructing his supporters to disperse and leave the Capitol, despite urgent pleas from his White House staff and dozens of others to do so. Members of his family, his White House lawyers, virtually all those around him knew that this simple act was critical. For hours, he would not do it. During this time, law enforcement agents were attacked and seriously injured. The Capitol was invaded, the electoral count was halted, and the lives of those in the Capitol were put at risk. In addition to being unlawful, as described in our report, this was an utter moral failure and a clear dereliction of duty.
Absolutely.
Evidence of this can be seen in the testimony of President Trump's own White House counsel and several other White House witnesses. No man who would behave that way at that moment in time can ever serve in any position of authority in our nation again. He is unfit for any office.
Boom.
The committee
Boom.
recognizes that our work has only begun. It's only the initial step in addressing President Trump's effort to remain in office illegally. Prosecutors are considering the implications of the conduct that we describe in our report, as are citizens all across our nation. In 1761, John Adams wrote, The very ground of our liberties is the freedom of elections. Faith in our elections and the rule of law is paramount to our republic. Election deniers, those who refuse to accept lawful election results, purposely attack the rule of law and the foundation of our country. The history of our time will show that the bravery of a handful of Americans doing their duty saved us from an even more grave constitutional crisis. Elected officials, election workers, and public servants stood against Donald Trump's corrupt pressure. Many of our committee's witnesses showed selfless patriotism, and their words and courage will be remembered. The brave men and women of the Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police, and all the other law enforcement officers who fought to defend us that day saved lives and our democracy. Mm-hmm. Finally, I wish to thank my colleagues on this committee. It has been a tremendous honor to serve with all of you. We have accomplished great and important things together, and I hope we have set an example. And I also want to thank all of those who have honorably contributed to the work of our committee and to our report. We have accomplished much over a short period of time. Many of you sacrificed for the good of our nation. You have helped make history, and I hope helped to right the ship. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that Donald Trump, one, will face any criminal charges? It's not up to the January 6th committee. It's up to the DOJ, right? It's up to Garland. But do you think he will? And do you think he should for the good of this country? Now, again, I'm going to show you what some of the what the charges that they're referring are. So let's start. Obstruction of an official proceeding. That is the first criminal referral of former President Donald Trump to the Justice Department. Number 2, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Number 3, conspiracy to make a false statement. And then number 4, to incite, assist, or aid or comfort an insurrection. These are not light charges. These are not something that we can be like, I know this is pretty bad, but for the good of the country, we should probably just let this slide. Can you imagine what it would do to our country if we criminally charged a former president? So Congressman Adam Schiff was doing the Sunday shows. So this was obviously before today's hearing. He was on with CNN's Jake Tapper, and I'm going to play you a little bit of that interview on what Adam Schiff thinks can and should happen.
Do you think the evidence is there that Donald Trump committed any of the crimes I just mentioned and that the cases are prosecutable, that you could get a conviction?
Yeah. I think that the evidence is there that Donald Trump committed criminal offenses in connection with his efforts to overturn the election. And viewing it as a former prosecutor, I think there's sufficient evidence to charge the president.
To get a conviction, though?
Well, I don't know what the Justice Department has. I do know what's in the public record. The evidence seems pretty plain to me, but I would want to see the full body of evidence if I were in the prosecutor's shoes to make a decision. But, this is someone who, in multiple ways, tried to pressure state officials to find votes that didn't exist. This is someone who tried to interfere with a joint session, even inciting a mob to attack the Capitol. If that's not criminal, then I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm. That's the most important statement that was just made. And let's welcome Kim to the show. I mean, the fact that, and I was showing everybody, Kim, the referrals. Again, obstruction of an official proceeding. Conspiracy to defraud the United States.
Yep.
Conspiracy to make a false statement and incite, assist, or aid and comfort an insurrection.
Now,
these are not minor things.
No, that is the one that I believe could stop him from running again.
Yeah, well, I think that if you're ever convicted of a felony, any of them, you can't run for president anymore. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. If he's found guilty of anything of a felony, he can't run for president. So I'm just wondering if we should let it go. I don't think that we
Let
should
it go.
Exactly.
Let it go.
Oh,
No.
let it go. No. But like, let's listen from somebody else, that they called for his head on January 6th. Here is former Vice President Mike Pence. Okay. And he is being interviewed. And just listen to what this guy is saying. And by the way, he's out with a book. So here we go.
Congress has no formal role in Justice Department decisions. They can make recommendations today. But when it comes to the Justice Department's decision about bringing charges in the future, I would hope that they would not bring charges against the former president. I don't look. As I wrote in my book, I think the president's actions and words on January 6th were reckless. But I don't know that it's criminal to take bad advice from lawyers, and so I hope the Justice Department is careful.
There might be criminal referrals on that too.
Well,
right, so we'll see on that.
Well, but Dana, I want to tell you, I hope the Justice Department understands the magnitude of the very idea of indicting a former president of the United States. I think that would be terribly divisive in the country at a time when the American people want to see us heal. At this time of year, we're all thinking about the most important things in our lives, our faith.
Our faith. He's going to bring God into it. He's going to bring the holiday season into it. As if, but it's Christmas time. We should just let it go.
Forgive and forget and move on.
Like, are you serious? I like this one. Pence is such a lick spittle. Yeah, Lori writes, Pence has always made me sick. I don't understand why he still has never developed a spine. I don't understand. It's as if the Republican Party fears the former president still so much when he's old news. His numbers are not great. I don't understand it.
Does he really think, and I'm so confused by that statement, does he really think the only thing former President Trump did wrong was get advice from bad lawyers?
Yeah. I don't think
it's really that's all he thinks?
He didn't watch the committee hearings. He couldn't have. Or this is a talking point that they're just going to continue to spew over and over again. But the fact that Mike Pence, after everything that happened, after everything that was said, how meticulously everything was laid out, he still can't stand up to the former president. What I do know above all else, in addition to that Trump is guilty, is that Mike Pence is not worthy to be president of the United States.
No.
He has proved it. He cannot stand up to truth and power.
I had hope the day that on January 6th, the day that he did his duty and certified the election anyway, at political cost. I had hope for him that maybe his faith made him a good guy. But I think that it has not stood the test of time, because over and over again, when he should have stood up against Trump, when the right thing to do was to speak out, he didn't.
Yeah. And he's still not. And he's still not. He's still, defending and minimizing what we all saw live on television. I mean, it is the ultimate gaslighting, right? To tell the American public it isn't what you see, what you saw, what you heard. I mean, police officers testifying to being beaten. People outwardly saying, I'm here because Trump sent us.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they still are lying to our faces. I mean, it's, I don't know how anyone supports this current Republican Party. Someone said earlier in the chat, it needs to be reformed. It absolutely does.
It is an historic day, because even though we knew it was coming, I will say that no former president has ever faced a criminal referral from Congress, which is what happened today.
Not enough, though.
That's a new, a new low has been reached in presidential history. One could say.
That's true. That is true. I mean, I'm just disappointed that there are not, even at this point, more Republicans standing up and saying, yeah, I mean, you can't ignore facts. We wish that it didn't
Because
happen,
here's
but
the crazy thing, and I truly believe this with all my heart, Nikki. If it had been a Democrat that had done the same thing, that had tried to undermine democracy, that had tried to stay in power, Democrats would be like, jail, you're
oh
out.
yeah. I mean, the locker up
Why
chance. Come
are
on.
they like behind him? And you know that Democrats would have been like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
You don't represent us. No.
Oh, they would have, yeah, they would have backed away. I mean, look at Al Franken, right? I mean, there's so many situations where, and then there's a whole debate of whether Al Franken should have done it, but Democrats saw the writing on the wall. They're like, look, what you did either isn't legal. I mean, if it was a Democratic president that did this, I truly believe, I really do, that that the Democratic Party would have spoken out and said that's not right. I just do.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm that's an incredibly partisan thing to say, but I really believe that.
No, I really believe that too.
I think Democrats are very fair-minded people. We don't just get in lockstep behind someone and not really focus on what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Later on today, we'll be talking about another politician, another Democrat, who is not stepping down, and that's Kevin De Leon. I know you had talked to Jennifer Jones-Lee last week about him, which was hilarious because if you guys don't understand what's happening, every single time Kevin De Leon, who's a city council member in LA, goes to a city council meeting, he is drowned out by protesters. He cannot get work done.
It's bedlam. It's chaos, pandemonium. Yes.
So is he serving LA? Is he serving his district by staying in power? And again, it's this, is the Democrat local politicians, I know it's a city council, but are they pulling him aside and saying, look, man, you're hurting us. If you truly believe in what you say you believe, you need to put your own, in my opinion, political aspirations on the back burner, because we can't get anything done with you sitting here. So that's coming up because he was on with CNN, and he's kind of pulling the Trump card. Nope. I'm staying. I apologized, and I don't think it's the right move. So that's coming up. We'll do that in the next half hour.
These folks that do this, they kind of feel like they can wait till it blows over.
Oh yeah, but they're not letting them in LA. That's like, no.
The longer they stay in, it's like Governor of New York.
Oh, God.
I kiss him. I do like to kiss and hug.
Oh yes,
yes.
Yes.
You know, you stay. You think it's going to blow over.
Cuomo.
Thank you. I know what's wrong with me. Yeah, you think that it's going to blow over, and it doesn't. And you should, if you had stepped down earlier on, it would have been, you're on mute. It would have been so much better for everybody involved.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I meant to be muted.
Okay.
Children are home this week, so I have to do a little bit of momming. I had to do a little bit of momming right then. Okay, so your kids are still in school, which is really, really nice for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about politics. Again, local politics with Kevin De Leon in the next half hour. I do want to stay on this kind of GOP political spin, though, and play you. And hopefully, I do have this. I'm going to share the screen. And this is an interesting take on the open border debate. Okay, so ABC's Martha Raddatz was sitting with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. I'm going to play you the video. There's a little bit of wind in the background, so that's why I wanted to play the video, not just pull the sound. Okay, so here we go. And I'm loving how she's framing this question. Okay, so, I'm doing it. Here we go. Okay.
You talk about the border wall, you talk about open borders. I don't think I've ever heard President Biden say, we have an open border, come on over. But people I have heard say it are you, are former President Trump, or Ron DeSantis. That message reverberates in Mexico and beyond. So they do get the message that it is an open border, and smugglers use all those kinds of statements.
It was known from the time that Joe Biden got elected that Joe Biden supported open borders. It is known by the cartels who have sophisticated information whether or not the Biden administration is going to enforce the immigration laws or not is known across the world, but most importantly, known among the cartels.
And how do you play into that? What can you do better?
So we have every level of government doing everything we can to prevent people from coming into the country illegally, or repelling them or arresting them and putting them behind bars.
So it was an interesting kind of take, because if the president isn't telling people in other countries that the borders are open, but the Republican Party won't stop saying it, who's actually sharing that message? I mean, if they would stop talking about it, or if they were talking about the border saying, only talking about the number of people that are caught, sent back, those sorts of things, would people in other countries, not those that are seeking asylum, which of course is legal, but those that just want to come across the border, even the cartels, if you tell them that we're catching you, that's the message that they should be sending. But saying, no, the borders are open, the borders are open, the borders are open. Thank you, GOP, for promoting an idea that isn't true. I mean, we are catching people at the border. We can't stop people from walking to the border. You can't do that. But once they get here, we do need to improve, the processing of people and things like that. But it's the GOP that is sending the message, actually, that our borders are open. And if they just shut the hell up about it, maybe that would help. I don't know. What do you think? Sticky Cola Bud writes, Biden and the Democrats should do something about the border. Their inaction is causing droves of voters to vote red, and we don't have housing and water for all of them. But that's exactly my point. We are catching them. We are catching a record number of people at the border. So our system here in the United States is working. Now, can we stop people from coming and walking up to our border and seeking asylum or whatever? No. How do you stop that? Maybe stop telling people the damn border is open. GOP. Because Biden's not saying it. Democrats aren't saying it. It's Republicans who are sending that message.
That message, and then they're pointing that at President Biden and saying it's his fault.
And it's not. You're the one. You're the one pushing this narrative. Am I saying that they're not coming? Of course not. But we cannot also, and I know they're pointing to that COVID legislation or regulation, pardon me, that's being lifted. Is it this week? That prevented people from crossing the border or led to quicker deportations because of the pandemic. Well, you can't have it both ways, GOP. You can't say COVID's not a big deal, there should be no restrictions, and then try to use the exact same reason to close the border. Find something else. But I would say if we put our money and our resources and our language and rhetoric towards making it, one, easier to decide who can seek asylum and who cannot. And someone was bringing up, shorten the time it takes to get citizenship.
Yeah.
People that are already here and are like, no, they should leave, they should wait in line. Should the line be so long? I don't know. I mean, that's something that we can debate.
I disagree with Randy.
You can't blame Republicans for this mess at this time. Biden is in charge. Do something.
He is. He's making record numbers of arrests at the border.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want?
He's saying don't come. So I don't know. I don't know how you think it's his fault.
Exactly.
I mean, there have been, in the history of America, not as many people being caught trying to come into this country as there are right now.
Exactly.
He's doing something. That's something, right? Am I wrong?
And I do also, I understand the concern about housing, water, all these resources that need to be used. So after Kim's news, we're going to touch a little bit on local homelessness, at least in the state of California, which is also being impacted by migration, asylum seekers, and just a lot of people wanting to live in the state of California. Now, LA Mayor Karen Bass tomorrow is supposed to unveil more details of her homeless plan. We'll go over what we know so far. Does it sound any different? And then the voucher program that gets low income and homeless people into permanent housing, there's a huge flaw with it. But it seems to be a flaw that San Francisco can't solve. LA may not be able to solve, but San Diego has been able to solve. So we'll get into that. We'll also touch on, of course, Elon Musk. He's changing the rules on how we all use Twitter. Does it make good business sense or not? So I'll ask you. But right now, let's take a look at some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report is sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. 4 Republican House members are being referred to the Ethics Committee. The House committee investigating last year's attack on the U.S. Capitol announced it has referred current Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, along with Ohio's Jim Jordan, Arizona's Andy Biggs, and Pennsylvania's Scott Perry. The House Ethics Committee evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. Arizona's Attorney General is looking to prevent a Trump-era border policy from expiring this week. Mark Brnovich filed an emergency stay application asking the U.S. Supreme Court to keep Title 42 in place. The policy was created to expedite deportations during the pandemic. The former CEO of FTX is headed back to a Bahamian jail. Reports over the weekend suggesting Sam Bankman-Fried would surrender to U.S. custody, but instead he has demanded to see his federal indictment in court. The FBI is issuing a public safety alert about sextortion schemes targeting minors. The agency said more than 3,000 minors have been coerced into sending explicit images of themselves online and then extorted for money afterward. The FBI also said more than a dozen suicides were linked to these schemes. Voting starts today on a University of California deal that could end a 5-week strike. An agreement was reached Friday with about 36,000 grad student workers and researchers to boost their pay and improve their benefits. And Disney fans are getting a taste of what is hitting Disney Plus in 2023. The streaming platform dropping a preview that included footage from season 2 of Loki. More than Marvel's new Secret Invasion series, as well as the Star Wars spinoff Ashoka. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. The clips from upcoming live-action Peter Pan and Wendy movie and the Pixar animated series Win or Lose were also shown. So all that on Disney Plus in 2023. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. So if you need help with your taxes, it's all about Steve Moskowitz. 888 Tax Deal is the number. The website you see at the bottom of the screen, moskowitzllp.com. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Perfection, Kim McAllister. So definitely visit Steve. He can help you with all your end of year and around the year tax problems, questions, and all things like that. All right, let's get into housing. Like I mentioned before Kim's news, LA Mayor Karen Bass, new mayor, thinks she's going to significantly reduce homelessness in LA within the next 4 years. Now, I don't know a mayor of a major city, especially in California, that's not going to make that promise, right? I mean, they're going to try. Obviously, in my first term in office, I will be making these huge changes that's going to address this gigantic problem that no one else has been able to get a handle on. But there is a huge problem within the response to homeless and the homeless population that cannot be ignored. One of them has to do with these emergency housing vouchers. So this was under current President Joe Biden. It was a $1.1 billion effort to house Americans during the height of the pandemic. And it's supposed to be just what these people need. Basically, the federal government will pay people's rent for several years. But listen to this statistic. This was out of the LA Times. A year and a half after vouchers were handed out, only 56% of the new vouchers have been used across the country. And in California, again, with like the worst housing problem ever, less than 50% of those vouchers are in use. And in San Francisco, which obviously we have high cost of housing, only 44% of the about 900 vouchers the city received have actually housed people. So you're asking yourself, why the hell aren't these vouchers being used? Well, there's a problem that San Francisco apparently has not been able to address, that LA will have to address, but that San Diego has been able to get over. And the problem is finding people to use those vouchers, finding landlords that will take the vouchers. Yeah. So what's happening is it's very similar to Section 8. right? I get approved for Section 8 housing after waiting on this long line of people that want Section 8 housing. And then all of a sudden, you reach out to this landlord that has a house or apartment for rent. And they go, because it's complicated and it takes a long time. Or maybe they just don't want to deal with it. So, pardon me, in San Diego, this report came actually out in July. San Diego has dramatically outperformed other cities like San Francisco in using these vouchers, despite the tight housing market. So it's not like it's not a very well sought after place to live. 100% of the emergency housing vouchers issued since 2021 to San Diego have placed people into permanent housing. Now, there's two factors that helped San Diego succeed. Housing advocates and experts across the country told the LA Times that, one, fewer people fall through the cracks in San Diego's system. So in others, and we've talked about this, and this is what I think is the hugest problem that San Francisco faces. In other cities, people have to go through so many different nonprofits and organizations. So San Diego's Housing Commission has minimized the number of agencies and people that clients have to deal with as they apply for the vouchers, wait for approval, and search for housing. In San Diego, most voucher applicants interact with at most 2 agencies before they're placed in a home. And then, this is also important, San Diego calculates how much vouchers are worth on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis instead of this like flat rate across the city, because you know that some places, we all know it, there's cheaper places to live in your city and more expensive places to live, and allows more flexibility. So it's tackling the problem from a realistic way. And I do think that places like San Francisco have way too many cooks in the kitchen when you are dealing with a massive problem like homelessness, whether it's the SROs and the numerous nonprofits that deal with that, where there's so many that nobody's getting enough funding, nobody's getting paid enough, and people are falling through the cracks. When we were at Station X, we had a great conversation with someone that worked at one of these nonprofits. And they're saying, look, there are stories that people get it. Yes, they get into temporary housing, but the temporary housing is gross to live in. People are dying. People are using drugs. It's not safe. So I don't know any sane person that wants to live, even if there is a roof over your head, like a structure, in a place in which they don't feel safe, or the plumbing doesn't work, or they're just left in a room and they don't talk to anybody. Like nobody's helping them. Nobody's helping them get any sort of assistance, which we know these people need. Now, again, LA Mayor Karen Bass will be launching a program tomorrow with her goal of significantly bringing down homelessness in Los Angeles in the next 4 years. Fox LA down there had a great story. This reporter, Phil Schumann, did this report, and I'm going to play you a bit of it. I took a clip from it. And this is the third biggest obstacle in ever getting homelessness under control. It's actually convincing the homeless to not live on the streets. So it starts off with Phil Schumann again with Fox LA talking to a homeless man.
Ashley Cisco spends his days in a makeshift encampment above the 101 freeway in downtown LA.
It's not too bad. I don't do anything bad.
Happy, he says, to fix bikes, cut hair. This 39-year-old from Ohio tells me he has a drug problem, is estranged from his family. He's also said no to repeated offers of shelter.
Maybe I am looked at in a negative sense. But I'm also the same person that will get out in the rain and I'll go change your tire because you won't want to change. I'm that guy.
He's one of some 40,000 homeless just in the city of LA that Karen Bass, just like her predecessor, has promised to get inside with services and eventually housing.
My mandate is to move Los Angeles in a new direction with an urgent and strategic approach to solving one of our city's toughest challenges.
With city and county officials by her side, Bass at LA's Emergency Operations Center said this new declaration means do more faster. It will expedite new development, centralize leasing and purchasing, say, of motels for shelters, increase the supply of temporary beds, and suspend regulations that, for example, require someone to have an ID. It does not, however, mean overnight change. But if there's an encampment on my block today, what are you doing today that's going to get that person into housing faster?
In the next couple of days, we will be unveiling the program that will deal with that encampment, and it's called Inside Safe. So stay tuned, give us a couple of days, and we will let you know about the next part of it.
The challenge, though, is less about helping those who want it than it is about getting people like Cisco, service resistant, off the streets when they don't want to go.
Seems like almost jail-like or penitentiary-like almost. So I don't know, I don't want that. I don't know. Really. And there's a certain type of freedom of being like homeless.
A certain amount of freedom in being homeless. Christine and Marla, we've done so many stories on this, and that is the challenge for everybody with best intentions. If you're homeless and you have no desire to come in off the streets and you're not committing crimes, there's very little that can be done right now to force you to accept services. So what Karen Bass's approach to that is going to be, well, as you heard her say, give us a couple of days and they'll roll out the details this week. Live downtown, I'm Phil Schuman, Fox 11 News.
Yeah, Fox 11 News did that report. Yeah, so how do you convince somebody that wants to live on the street to not live on the street? The only thing I could think of is you make it a crime. And that sucks to say because it makes people criminals for just wanting to not live in a shelter or some sort of temporary housing. But other than that, other than saying you can't sleep here, I don't know if you do it by zoning. I don't know. I have no idea.
You do what Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to do with Care Court and what Mayor London Breed in San Francisco is advocating, which is to change the definition of what people need to be able to do for themselves in order to qualify for conservatorship. So if they're not having their medical needs met, according to Mayor London Breed, then they would qualify for a conservatorship. And so you force people that don't want to go off the streets because they have mental problems or whatever else, substance abuse issues, you force them off into care, into psychiatric treatment, and off the streets of America.
Right.
I was going to say of San Francisco, but of America, it's wider spread than that.
Absolutely.
And so, and then civil rights, questions arise. Well, can you do that to people? Is it right to do that to people?
Exactly.
But we've got to do something, right? Because the homeless problem is out of control.
It is.
So, and you walk through, we used to walk past this guy sleeping in the doorway of Station X. And you think to yourself, this is America. How can we leave him behind like that?
Yeah.
How can I walk by him every day knowing that he's out here facing the elements and that all kinds of things are happening to him? Sorry, John Rothman's calling.
Hi, John Rothman.
But how can you do that? I just, and so then it becomes, okay, well, if you really are caring about that, if you're really not wanting to leave this person behind, then you have to look at something like a care court. And you have to look at something that could diminish someone's rights. Otherwise, there's no choice but to leave them on the street.
Exactly. I mean, it sounds terrible to say that, but I've said this before.
Yeah.
I think someone literally laying their body down on the ground night after night, no matter the weather, is a call and cry for help. I mean, how is it not? How is it? Because again, these aren't people. I mean, there's some people that are, out of sight, out of mind, right? They're under bridges. They're finding a place that's not on the middle of the street. The sidewalk, people are laying their bodies down on the sidewalk. And we don't think that that's a cry for help. We don't think that this is somebody that wants society to take care of them, that needs society to take care of them. Because look, if you just like and this is, of course, my opinion, I've never been homeless. And so I'm not saying that, but I would say if you're in it for the freedom to not be bothered with society and society's rules, you're not laying on the street, right? You're finding your own little enclave somewhere, your little slice of freedom where people don't bother you. You're not in a place in which people would arguably be bothering you, right? Stepping over you, hassling you, maybe hurting you in some way. I mean, it's not safe also to live like this. So I'm very interested to see what Karen Bass plans to do. But I think, and of course, on top of this, when we're talking about a place like California and especially the Bay Area, We have to get housing prices under control. We seem to have this idea that housing prices can just keep going up, up, and wages won't keep up, and that's not going to just expand the problem. That's not going to make the problem worse. It is basic math. And all of you people that will have this knee-jerk reaction, well, you just can't live in expensive areas. Everywhere is becoming expensive. Everywhere is becoming. Look at freaking Idaho. Look at Idaho. And I'm not knocking Idaho, like whatever. But I remember when my friend moved there. She got a house, I think, for under $100K. It was a nice house, 2-story house. She still lives in it. Right? I think now it's like $700,000. You think Idaho wages are keeping up with that exponential growth in housing? No. And yet we're not doing anything about it. We're looking at these people living on the streets and being like, it's because you're a drug addict. It's because you have a mental illness. Those things may be true, but it's also true that people can't afford housing. So
meanwhile, we step over them and we say, God, why can't we do something?
We can. But we need to work together. We need to stop being NIMBYs. We need to build more housing. We need to understand that the character of our neighborhood is going to change. Your city is going to change. It is a fact. I mean, look at, there was not too long ago, San Jose, my city, my hometown, celebrated its anniversary. It was like 200 something years, right? And so there's a picture of what San Jose used to look like. Guess what? It was a lot of vineyards and orchards and a lot of open space. And it changed because people moved here. And that is what is happening. Randy writes in, where are we supposed to build all this housing in the San Francisco Bay Area? Have you looked at the land map of reserved or off-limits land in the Bay Area? You change the zoning, Randy. That's the point. The ADUs that are popping up, that's also using land.
And you look at cities around the Bay Area, including San Francisco, and you look at how many buildings they own. What are they being used for? Are some of them sitting vacant?
Yeah,
Are some
year
of
after
them,
year.
need to be refurbished and could be turned into something? And then you look at what happened with during the pandemic, when cities were buying hotels with that Project Home Key money, and how that may or may not have worked out. What do we need to do to buy bigger hotels? Do we need to manage the hotels properly, or can we just give someone a room and let that be the place where they stay? Do they need services? What do they need? How much is it really going to cost? I feel like half of the money, at least half, if not more of the money that we spend on what some people call the homeless industrial complex is being misspent.
Oh, yes,
Or is
absolutely.
just being given away. If it's going to cost $60,000 a year for a tent, come on, that's an apartment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what are we really doing for these people? And I just, maybe people don't want us to look into that deeper and find out what's really going on with all that money and how we could spend it and how we could do it differently. But what we're doing now isn't working, so we have to change it.
Yeah, and we do. Julia wrote in, I quit serving lunches to the homeless because they were openly laughing at us goody two-shoes, making ourselves feel good about ourselves.
Oh.
Why would they want to get into the added stress of paying for a home? Then you've got to get stuff you don't want. They don't want the responsibility. I think that there is always going to be a segment of the homeless population that thinks that way, right? I'm going to milk the system. I was raised to milk the system. I milk the system. I'm going to raise my kids to milk the system. No, that is true. There is a segment of the population that lives that way. But do I believe that most people want to live this way? No, I don't. I think that there are some that are mentally ill and they just can't get it together enough to take care of themselves and to get themselves in housing. Obviously, we have the drug problem that is rampant all across the country. But I think if you had a choice of living a full life with housing and a job, I truly do believe there are more of those people than the people that Julie may be referring to, which are people that'll just use the system. And, I get that mentality. I get that criticism of helping the homeless, but it doesn't mean we stop, because we're dealing with it either way. We either build the housing, we get housing prices under control, we get these people off the streets, or we continue to look at them. We will deal with it either way. Yeah. That is it. We will always be dealing with this. So how do we want to do it? Do we want to change our society? Do we want to change the look and character of our neighborhood so that there are not people living on the streets? I don't see any other way than that. I really don't.
And that not only are they not living on the streets, with crime and garbage and everything else, but they're actually getting the help they need.
Randy asks, define under control for housing prices. I would say where the average wage is enough to afford rent. How about that? I mean, and I don't know how we, besides government housing, rent control or things like that, how we do it on that end. I mean, that's it. And I know that people say, no, rent control will destroy neighborhoods, or it's my property, I should be able to charge whatever I want. Okay. That's not helping. That's not solving the problem. You tell me then. If you're against rent control, government housing being built in your neighborhood, then what is your answer? Because you have to stop saying, well, people just can't live here. Because the people are here. They're here. We have to deal with the issue at hand. Oh yeah, look at Mo Direct. The average wage is not enough to afford a room. That's a problem. Wages need to keep up. We need to stop with this stupid narrative of if you increase wages, the cost of everything will go up. The cost of everything is going up anyway. It's going up anyway. So we need to figure out some sort of regulation, some sort of control to make it happen. Randy says that rent control only limits the number of rental units. There also needs to be incentives for it. I mean, you have to make it worth people's while to, let's say, accept those housing vouchers, right? Everyone loves like tax credits, tax write-offs, all sorts of things. And we'll have our founding sponsor, Steve Moskowitz, on during the show to talk about everything that he does for people. But you tell a landlord, a business owner, somebody, look, you can get a tax write-off if you increase the number of people that you help, that you use these housing vouchers for. Why not? I mean, this is the way we need to think, because otherwise no one is going to do it, or at least not enough people are going to do it. And it's frustrating. And I feel sorry for us that we haven't been able to get it together. And I don't see a way out of it. I really don't. I wish LA Mayor Karen Bass the best of luck. I do hope and look at San Diego as a glimmer of hope that we can maybe get this done, but that would be reducing the bureaucracy surrounding getting homeless people housed. And when you have a lot of different agencies, which ones do you cut? Which ones do you allow to stay? And how do you make that happen? Because it could hurt you politically. And if you're out, then you can't make the changes. Okay, we're going to switch gears in just a moment. I do want to talk a bit about Twitter. Another change is coming to Twitter. If you guys could please click that thumbs up button. It helps the show. It, expands our reach on these YouTubes. The super chat is also live. You could donate money, get your comment read. We really do appreciate everybody that throws some money our way in the super chat. You guys are awesome. There's so many regular listeners and viewers that do that. And you could do it even if you're not watching the show live. So there's a $ below the live chat with our little shows community happening in there. And so you can always help support the show that way. And then the biggest and best way to support the show, of course, is to become a monthly subscriber to our Patreon. You do get early access to videos and to merchandise. I just started releasing some merchandise that you see behind me right here. And anybody that purchased something, please send me pictures of you using the merchandise or that you have the merchandise, because that's great. And I want to show you a quick picture because we finally got a listener. It was Jim, and he was at the farmer's market, and he got the tote bag that you see right there.
Nice.
And so you see what are those, persimmons, I think, in the bag right there. So
I don't know if those are persimmons or something.
Yeah,
Carrots,
I think no, they're not carrots. They're round. Those are persimmons, I think.
One thing sticking up toward the right, that might be a carrot.
That's another persimmon. I don't know, Jim, if you're listening right now, you can tell us what you have. But yeah, so he has the tote bag. So we thank Jim for the support. And again,
Looking
just
good.
go to TheNikkiMedoroShow.com. There's a link to our store there, or you can go directly to the store, The Nikki Medoro Shop with P.com, and you can see all of our merchandise there as well. But let's bring in right now someone who is a huge supporter and really the main reason we can continue doing the show all the time, our exclusive founding sponsor, the one, the only, Steve Moskowitz. Hey, Steve. Thank you so much for all your support of the show.
My pleasure. I look at the tote bag. I assume that's the bag you use to carry all your money to the bank from the ERC.
Oh, there you go. Yes, absolutely. All that money, that I need to have a tax attorney to manage, Steve Moskowitz, because you are the guy to call. And remind people, again, what what you do, the work you put in to get them the right advice, the money they're owed. I mean, you do it all.
And let me tell you how important this is. I have still another ERC case that I did on Friday. And this one, the CPA boggled me. I spoke to the client, and as you know, there's two different ways to qualify. One way is through the drop in gross revenue, what I call the easy way, and then the complex way. And this I spoke to the CPA, and I said, "Why didn't you do the alternative method?" And you know what she said to me?
Mm.
"Oh, it was too much work."
Oh, please.
That was her actual answer. And Nikki, this one, it wasn't the two other cases. It was 7 figures. This was $100,000.
It's a lot of money.
But I was boggled. How can some CPA say, "Oh, this was too much work, so I turned my back on your $100,000"? I bet that CPA, if they had $100,000, would be chasing it.
Absolutely.
Dereliction of duty.
Absolutely.
But I just, and to me, this is worse than not knowing. It's bad enough if you don't know. Shame on you. It's stuff you should know and you don't. But at least, it's
Ignorance,
not a
right?
conscious decision. They didn't know. But here, the CPA knew and said it was too much work and didn't do it. I said, I'm boggled and I'm really troubled because you said it was too much work for you to get somebody else's $100,000.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God, it just boggled me.
I mean, and it goes to show, Steve, what your decades of experience gives your clients. Because not only do you know all the many ways and the intricacies of the tax law and what people can get, but you're also willing to do the work because you know how life-changing it can be for people.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is the third case we've talked about like this. But this one was just, you knew, and it was too much work for you.
Mm.
I just was boggled by it.
I mean, fired. I would never hire her. I know you're not going to blast her name, Steve Moskowitz, because you're a good guy, but give Steve a call, because I mean, that is just one of the many stories we bring you about how Steve puts in the work. He knows his stuff. He'll explain it to you so that you also understand it. So give him a call. AAA Tax Deal, MoskowitzLLP.com, MoskowitzzLLP.com.
I have to say before we let you go, though,
Mm.
we had date night last night, my husband and I.
Oh,
We went
nice.
out to dinner. It was great. You know what we talked about? Steve Moskowitz.
There you go.
What
Talked
could
about
possibly bring you greater joy? I mean.
Well, my husband does our taxes, and I think he uses Quicken, one of those programs where they take you through question by question by question. And he's like, listen, we hardly own our house. The bank still owns it, right? But we have one property. We're very simple. Like, we don't have a lot of complications going on. And so, I think I'm doing the same thing that Steve would do. Like, I just click the box, answer the question, click the box, answer the question, done, right? I argued with him a little bit. It was date night, so I tried not to get too, crazy.
You didn't want Steve to ruin your date night. I get it.
Listen, why don't we do a test? Why don't you do it the way you always do it? But I'm going to take everything and I'm going to go to Steve and I'm going to see what he does. And then we'll meet and we'll compare before we file anything. If it's the same, if you got the same result, then you're right. Right? But if Steve can save us some money,
there you go.
Then I'm right.
And that one property, is that your personal residence or a rental?
Yeah, it's my personal property.
Yeah.
You're looking at this lovely place here.
Very beautiful.
That's a good question, though, Steve, because, in my situation, it's even different. Like, I have a rental up in Sacramento that we rent out, and then I rent this house here. So
the rental that you rent out, one of the things most people, when they buy a rental, they buy it in their own name.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, oh, wait a minute. For the first rental, you should form an LLC. And here's why.
Oh, Lord, now I need it. Oh, goodness. Lay it on me. Okay.
Suppose one night your tenant gets rip-roaring drunk, falls down, and breaks his or her back and becomes a quadriplegic. Of course, the tenant will sue you. And they'll sue you, say, well, it wasn't because they were rip-roaring drunk. It was because you didn't maintain the floor properly. And the jury says, well, landlords are evil inherently. So yes, we'll award you what you want. One lawsuit whose judgment is in excess of your insurance can wipe out everything that you and your hubby work for your entire lifetimes, ruin your life. You could avoid all of that if we just set up an LLC, and now the LLC rented the property, because worst case, you'd lose the net equity of the LLC, but all your other assets would be safe. So that's number one.
Can you do that retroactively?
Yes.
Can she change it? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Look at that. All right.
And next, it won't adversely affect your taxes. And then we'll throw in a tax aspect. Suppose you had 2 or more rental properties. Suppose you had 10 rental properties.
Now you're
So
highfalutin.
I know, right?
Depends. Some people have more, some people have less. So you say, well, all right, if I have the 10 properties, then you only want to put 1 property in each entity, because the whole idea is if you get sued, you lose what's in the entity. Well, the thing is to limit it. So if you had 10 rental properties, you would want to have 10 entities, because you say, well, okay, I would only lose the property.
That
in one
one.
entity. I'd still keep all my personal assets and the other assets and the other 9 properties. But what happens is the state of California charges you $800 a year as a franchise fee. You say, well, wait a minute, if I have 10 LLCs, that would be a fee of $8,000 a year. That's starting to get pricey. So the tax trick here is that you form 1 LLC, you form 9 LPs, that's 9 limited partnerships with the LLC. The LPs don't pay an annual franchise fee, so you have your 10 entities and you only pay $800 a year. And that was from a state tax ruling.
Look, I mean, we're talking later to do the taxes stuff, Steve. I mean, we're going to be doing it together, but it's just insane that you just know this stuff, and I would have never thought of anything like that.
Well, and you see, Kim, what happens is a lot of times in a tax interview, it's like seeing the doctor. You go in because your elbow hurts, and he says, well, your elbow's going to get better on its own. That's fine, but your blood pressure is too high. And he or she discovers something else. So like when we do a tax return, let's assume worst case that if it's a real simple return, my return came out the same as your husband's return. But now you learn about the LLC and you say, oh my God, I could have been wiped out.
Right.
And people really do this. And to give you some idea, do these things happen? Yes.
All
You know
the
the wrestler Hulk Hogan?
Oh,
That
yeah.
happened. You know what happened to Hulk?
No.
He got sued for what happened was Hulk's son borrowed Hulk's car with Hulk's permission. Hulk's son then takes the son's friend, they go for a drive. Hulk's son hits a tree. Hulk's son gets out of the car unscratched. The friend becomes a quadriplegic.
Oh, geez.
And because the car was in Hulk's name, those people sued Hulk for everything he had. So these things really happen. It's not just, some fun example. These things really happen. And you meet with somebody who, you don't want to be that person who a lifetime of working in savings is wiped out. That could have totally been avoided by the simple expedient of setting up an entity.
That is nuts. I mean, just the help that and advice you're giving right now is priceless, and we so appreciate you. Kim, our viewers obviously want to see how this all works out, but I'm putting my money on Steve. Nothing against your hubby.
I know, me too. That was an interesting date night, right?
Oh, yes, indeed. All right, Steve. Well, thank you so much. We love having you on the show and all the advice, and we'll talk again soon.
Love being
Thank
here.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Yeah. See, look at him. I mean, think about that. I mean, he's already, and I was already hands down. I'm not handling myself because I'm your husband in this situation. I always do our taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I know I'm missing something, but I don't want to mess with it. So I'm probably paying too much or whatever and not getting what I'm supposed to, but I'm not going to make that mistake anymore. So give C. Moskowitz a call again, AAA tax deal, MoskowitzLLP.com, and he's going to help you.
He could have just saved you the heartache of being sued for whatever.
I've never even thought about that. I mean, it's just like, oh, it's a house that we lived in and we might live in someday. It's like this savings account. Like, we'll just keep the house but it's
like owning a house is like forced savings.
Exactly.
Right?
And
so someday you're going to turn around, it's going to be worth something. And you're going to be like, I guess I actually can retire. right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Maybe.
All right. So we'll talk a little bit about Twitter after Kim's news. Again, click that thumbs up button. We love it. We love it. We love it. The super chat is open. If you guys want to throw some dollars our way, we'll do some shout outs. Also, after Kim's news, I have some feel good stories coming up. We have so much show to do. But first, some news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report sponsored, of course, by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888-TAX-DEAL. The House Committee, I lead with it even though I have before because it just can't be said enough. The House Committee investigating last year's attack on the Capitol is referring criminal charges against former President Trump to the Justice Department. In a hearing today, the committee said those charges include insurrection. That's big. The committee chairman, Benny Thompson, said Trump lost the 2020 election and tried to stay in office through a multi-part scheme to overturn the results. Whether the Justice Department brings charges against Trump will depend on whether prosecutors believe that there's enough evidence to proceed. Connected to this, 4 Republican House members are being referred to the Ethics Committee. The House Committee investigating last year's attack on the Capitol announced that it has referred current Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, along with Ohio's Jim Jordan, Arizona's Andy Biggs, and Pennsylvania's Scott Perry. The House Ethics Committee is evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. There are numerous states now asking the federal government, asking the Supreme Court, I should say, to keep a Trump-era border policy in place. States like Arizona, Missouri, Texas, and Tennessee filed an emergency stay application asking the High Court to keep Title 42 from ending. The policy was put in place to expedite the deportations during the COVID pandemic. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich said ending Title 42 would recklessly endanger more Americans and migrants by what he said, lots of ding words here, exacerbating the catastrophe that is occurring at the border. The policy is scheduled to expire this week. Meta Platforms is facing a slew of antitrust violations in Europe. According to the Wall Street Journal, the EU charging the US tech company with potentially limiting competition by automatically giving Facebook users access to its marketplace service. The commission also accused Meta of making it harder to compete for online advertising services. Twitter is walking back a policy prohibiting users from promoting their accounts on several other major social media sites. Less than 24 hours after this policy was introduced, it was deleted.
Really?
Instead, a company account at Twitter Safety is running a poll asking users if creating accounts to promote other platforms should be banned.
And I'll look at the
policy. Now we're going to vote on the policy.
Well, Musk loves the polls. I'm looking up the Twitter Safety handle. Okay, so he loves polls. He put out a poll about whether or not he should continue to run Twitter, and like most of the people said, no, you should go. So yeah, so should we have a policy preventing the creation of or use of existing accounts for the main purpose of advertising other social media platforms? All right, in the live chat, vote. You don't have to vote on Twitter. You can tell me, and then I'll hit the button. How about that? This is a good debate. We're gonna have it after your news, Kim, because here's my question. And somebody had posted this on Twitter. You don't see Target advertising Walmart. You don't see one company advertising another company. Is there something different about Twitter or social media in general, where you're supposed to allow your social media platform to help promote other social media platforms?
I would argue you don't see Target advertising Walmart because they're competitors, but in the and while social media companies may be competing as well,
they are.
The whole point of a social media company is to get the word out, right? So I heard from an author who said, the reason that I'm on Twitter is so that I can get my books out, and I have to put all the social media profiles, I have to advertise that in order for people to know that I've written these books. So what's the point of Twitter if not to get the word out? And if you want to get the word out as far as who you are, what you're doing, and where you are, like our show on YouTube would then be a banned thing. So how do we get the word out about that if Twitter's going to say, no, thank you?
Well, yeah. So what I would say to that is you, instead of kind of sharing the YouTube video, right, you would have to do your own dedicated post just for, let's say, Twitter. So instead of linking YouTube, I mean, I could say the Nikki Medoro Show. I could say this in a video on Twitter or whatever. You can find me on YouTube. I could do that. You just can't link it. And on one hand, I think it's fundamentally changing how we use social media. I mean, if you go on YouTube, you see a ton of TikTok videos. TikTok's a Chinese company, but I don't hear TikTok being all upset about it, or even YouTube being upset about it, because there's like this mutual benefit, right? I'm advertising you, you advertise me. I'm thinking Elon's not seeing enough ROI on people going to Twitter. He's just seeing a lot of his people on Twitter promoting other sites, and they're getting all the love and attention.
Well, I think it's just another reason people are going to leave Twitter. If they can't need to do on the platform, you're slowly whittling away everything it was. You're not going to have any reason to stick around.
Right. Well, coming up after your news, I'll play you a little clip from Mark Cuban, from the Dallas Mavericks. He's on the Shark Tank or whatever. And he has an interesting take on the move by Elon Musk. And you tell me in the chat whether or not you think that it's a good idea to stop allowing the cross promotion, and whether or not you agree with Mark Cuban. So that's coming up in a few minutes.
There are Uber drivers in New York City that are on strike today. They are demanding higher wages. They were approved by the city's Taxi and Limo Commission, but that's been put on hold pending a hearing in late January after Uber challenged them. The drivers were set to get 7% more per minute. Leo Messi. Ooh, what a name that guy has now. He's continuing to set records. Less than 24 hours after winning the World Cup with Argentina, Messi broke an Instagram record with a picture of him lifting the World Cup trophy along with a thank you note. As of Monday morning, Messi's post has been linked more than 43.2 million times. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, you can get Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also find him on the internet website right there, MoskowitzLLP.com. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Yes, thank you for joining us on the second hour of the Nikki Medoro Show. I promised Kim I was going to share this story before we get into the whole Twitter thing. Moving a little slowly this morning, my friend.
What happened? What's going on?
I went to Boozy Bingo last night.
Booty or booby?
Boozy, as in drinking.
Oh,
booze.
boozy.
I like yours, though. Booby Bingo. That
Booby
sounds
bingo.
like a damn good time.
Breast Cancer Foundation.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it was bingo. I won the first round, which was awesome, by the way.
How much did you win?
Okay, so I didn't have any idea. So it was $20, and that got you your first bingo card, a free glass of champagne, and then they just asked parties to like spend a certain amount, and we were there all night. Like you could buy out $20.
Was it some fundraiser?
So no, this company, this business in, I believe they're in Campbell, which is like in the San Jose area. It's called Bestie's Boutique, and they sell like I had never been in the store, but they sell like cute little merchandise and stuff like our merchandise that you can find at the NikkiMedoroShop.com. So apparently the owner of this company does, I don't know if it's monthly or quarterly or whatever. This was my first time. Bestie, because her name's is Bestie Boutique, Bestie Boozy Bingo. And so it's, and it's a bunch of, and men go too. It's not just women. And you just play bingo, and there's music and there's dancing, and we just had the best time. Made better by our table of like 10 moms. 3 of us won. So, and we won.
That sounds really fun, but I would say it sounds like something an 80-year-old woman would do.
You would think that.
But then you go and you have a blast, so that's great.
No, and bingo, yeah, you think of like, churches and 80-year-olds, but this was a lot of fun. They did music bingo where they played. I know, I have one too. It's freezing. They had music bingo, which was really fun, where they played a song, and then you had a music card, and you had to do that, and then they had traditional bingo. Do you want to know something I found out though? I was sitting next to one of my friends who's from the UK originally. And so she's like, I don't know how you guys do it here in America. And so I didn't realize. So in the UK, apparently, I don't know why they call it bingo. This is one of the questions we kept cracking up about. I'm like, why do you call it bingo? They don't use letters. So it's only 1 through 90. They just call a number.
Do they still shout bingo when they get a row?
I guess. And I'm like, you understand that it's bingo. That's why you do it. But they have names, like clever names for every number. Okay. So the ones that she knew, like 88 was 2 fat ladies. 11 was legs 11. So I Googled this. 16 is sweet 16 and never been kissed. So they yell out that when you're when they call out the numbers. So they call out these fun little names, but it was a lot of fun. I won, but yeah, it was one of those things where I Ubered or lifted, I should say. My husband dropped me off and then I lifted home. So I was very, very safe on this holiday season.
So
but
how much did you win?
$150.
Oh, did you say that and I missed it? That's wonderful.
No, I don't think I said it. 150. Yeah. Hold on. In Booby Bingo, B34 would be the winning number.
Why would B34 be the winning number? Does that have to do with a bra size?
B34. B34. Is it
34 around in a size B cup? I would think you would say it. You would have said something like 36D or something.
I grew up, we call it Beano, but you still holler bingo when you won. No clue why. Beano sounds like you should fart when you win, right? I mean, or something like that. I don't know. But it was very, very fun.
That changes the evening completely.
Yeah, I was glad that it was outside yesterday if we were playing that. But no, it was a really great time. But yeah, I learned a lot about UK bingo, which I had never heard was any different. And they don't actually use the letters, which is really funny. But again, I got a cute cup also from the merchandise. On that note, please go to the NikkiMedoroShop.com and purchase some of our merchandise. It's great. It's perfect for the holidays. I've received one picture already from people for this one man, Jim, who bought the merchandise. So there's the picture again. So send me pictures and we'll highlight them and say thank you to Jim and everybody else that has been supporting the show. I do want to give some shout outs in our live chat before we talk about Twitter. 99-cent super sticker from Zooey Mama. Thank you. Stan, the CPA, gave us $25.
Nice.
Mwah. Thank you. And then William with another $20 donation into our live chat. So yeah,
so nice.
The super chat is open. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. All right. So how should I click the button? Should I click yes or should I click no? So Twitter Safety has announced or has put this question on their platform. Should we have a policy preventing the creation of or use of existing accounts for the main purpose of advertising other social media platforms? You guys tell me in the live chat, does it make sense for Twitter, which is not a profitable company, to allow the free promotion of their competitors on their websites? I say they should definitely allow it. I like it. I think that it works, but I understand the thinking. So here is, this is Mark Cuban. Obviously, he owns the Dallas Mavericks. He's from the Shark Tank. And he was being asked by Jon Stewart, although you won't hear him on this, whether or not this is a good move by Elon Musk. And here's what Mark Cuban had to say.
It's always been this way. It's not something new. It's always been this way. Walter Cronkite decided what went on his show. Rupert Murdoch has been for corporate advocacy since Rupert Murdoch was born. Right. It's just a different platform. And so we're starting to understand. And look, and even with the Twitter files even though there was no there, we got insight into how Twitter worked in their decision-making process. And while they tried to stick to their terms of service, there's always going to be a gray area where decisions are made about information. And so we're just getting, in this particular case, the guy making the sausage is showing his recipe, even though he's saying he's making cupcakes, he's making hot dogs, right? And we're getting to see how they're made.
And while I understand what Mark Cuban's saying, that Elon Musk is in charge of Twitter, he could decide the rules, and that's absolutely 100% correct. When you have something like social media, it's a different type of business. And I think we've been taught to use it one way, and it's like he's changing the rules midstream. I don't know if it's going to pay off for him. I don't think that people are going to like it. Twitter is not. I had also lunch. I had a busy weekend, Kim. I had lunch with our old colleague, Brett Burkhart, who's now at KCBS on Saturday. Yeah. And we were talking about Twitter.
You guys didn't invite me? I'm so hurt.
I know. I'm sorry. He came all the way down here. You'd have to drive all the way down to San Jose. He was down here. And I met him. But we were talking about how Twitter's just not the same anymore. I don't know how we got on the conversation. Two newsies having a conversation about news. And I don't know if Twitter is going to survive. That's what I was saying. I think the changes that Elon Musk is making are too quick, too severe. And people don't trust his decision making. When you are letting a Twitter post decide something as major as cross promotion, I don't think that people trust that kind of decision making. And somebody actually said that. Where was it? They're like, you should not be allowing people to do this. It's embarrassing. And then another person said, do you see Walmart ads at Target? Another person said a long time ago, you could not enter McDonald's with a Burger King drink or food. They would ask you to leave. Is social media the same type of company, like a Burger King or a McDonald's?
It's a completely different animal. The whole point is to get the word out about things. Hey, Nugget, that's the whole point of it. So if you're limiting my access and my ability to get the word out about things, why do I want to use your platform? Whatever,
So, I mean, and as Kim mentioned in her news, apparently they're pulling back. But before, you wouldn't be able to link to Facebook, Instagram, and they were saying Mastodon or Truth Social. But then some people were saying, no, you can link to Truth Social and not the other ones. I don't know. I think the whole thing is an absolute mess, and he's ruining the platform, which is disappointing because I enjoyed Twitter, for news and to interact with people. It's unfortunate what's happening, and I don't trust that he's heading it in the right direction.
I agree with Mo. This really feels like how it's working. He wants to break the company, let it go in the absolute default so he can write it off as a tax write-off. As steps one shy of bankruptcy, the goal of Twitter ended up destroying small-town journalism.
It did. It absolutely did. I mean, Facebook too. I'll put the whole demise of local journalism on Facebook's doorstep as well. Similar to, I mean, if you want to be honest, Craigslist. I mean, if you want to talk about the first nail in the coffin, it was Craigslist. They took the bread and butter away from journalism, newspapers specifically, by doing free ads, which is how newspapers made their money. So as change happens, there are things that are lost. And sadly, it's something as important as journalism that is being lost. And I don't know what the consequence of Twitter's changes are going to be, but I don't like them. And I don't see Elon Musk really being the guy that's going to lead this company through it. I think, Mo's probably right. He'll break it off and it won't be what it was and what we liked it being, unfortunately. We have time, so I want to touch on this other story now for something completely different. Kevin De Leon. God, somebody that was like a rising star within the Democratic Party. Okay. Part of the LA City Council. If you have not heard the story in a nutshell, this was an old recording, but it was made public. It was leaked of Kevin De Leon and others making racist comments. They were caught. Everybody else that was caught on this audio recording has either resigned or is stepping down, except Kevin De Leon. He is refusing to. And what's happening is as he digs in his heels, so do those that do not like Kevin De Leon and feel like he's betrayed his constituents. So Kevin De Leon was on with Kate Baldwin on CNN. The LA Times has this video. I'm going to share it with you. Now, you tell me as you're watching, is this a man who knows what he's doing? Or is this a man that just is not reading the writing on the wall and is destroying his political career? Because I'm thinking it might be the latter. And I don't know what he should do. I don't think what he's doing right now is going to work for him. So here again is his interview with Kate Baldwin on CNN. Oh, of course, there's a friggin' ad first. Okay.
Nice bathroom, though.
Well, yeah, that bath fitter. But yeah, so again.
Oh, they just put it, the whole bathtub goes right over your old one. Wow.
These stupid commercials. Damn it. Okay, here we go. What do we got here? There we go.
De Leon is still facing repeated calls to resign over a scandal sparked by racist comments caught on tape. Other members of the council have resigned or plan to because of this whole scandal, but De Leon is defiant, refusing to do so. Councilman, thank you for coming on. I know that we've been working on trying to have this conversation for
look at his face.
Friday's meeting was the first that you've attended.
This is a mistake.
October 11th or early October. Were you surprised by the reaction of the council members who left in protest and also people in the community who are clearly still very upset and not over this scandal?
Well, good morning, Kate. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite surprised by a handful of individuals who serve on the city council. With them walking out the past 2 months, I've been taking a lot of reflection, working with my constituents, as well as having conversations, not just with my constituents in the district, but with constituents or folks outside the district, with many communities, but in particular, the African American community. Let me underscore something. This is something that I have profoundly taken a lot of reflection, but I rolled up my sleeves and I'm getting back to work, engaging with my constituents every single day. I continue to serve because, the stories that you just talked about with regards to inflation and how it's impacted, especially disproportionate communities of color. The district I represent, by far and large, is a Latino immigrant community. I am the epicenter for homelessness, not just in the city of LA, but nationwide. And that's why I continue to serve, because folks have been struggling, especially during the post-pandemic, as well as the threat of being evicted because of the eviction moratorium that will soon be lifted.
Every leader involved in this scandal, either including the now former council president, they've all resigned or are leaving because of the mess that this has created. Why are you not resigning?
Well, let me say this, Kate, and let me be very clear about this. In a democracy, the voters make the decision.
Be very clear.
Here to do the business of my constituents, and that's what
you,
I've
I'm
worked for
staying in
tirelessly.
office.
That's what I'm going to continue to do. I can tell you this, and I want to underscore and emphasize the following: if you don't think I'm profoundly sorry, for participating in that meeting, or for not standing up and shutting that meeting down and shutting down the
But listen to this, watch.
vitriolic
She's
comments
great.
from then president of the council, who did eventually resign, that's something I'm forever will be sorry for.
I totally understand, but it wasn't it wasn't just that you didn't stand up. You also took part in the conversation. I mean, in it, you said you compared the young black child of a fellow councilman to being an accessory, like a luxury handbag. What exactly was the mistake that you made that you are apologizing for?
Well, obviously, there was I shouldn't have said what I said because it was actually a comment. I was criticizing actually Councilwoman Nuri Martinez for her penchant for luxury handbags, and it's again, apologetic. I shouldn't have said that, clearly, and I've apologized to Mike Bond and as well as his family.
So there you go. I mean, I don't feel like his apology is a real apology. I think that you're right what you said before, Kim. He is hoping and praying that something big in the news will take over and he won't have to deal with this anymore.
People are going to lose interest and forget and look away.
I don't think that he'll be reelected. I don't. I do think he should resign.
Why do you want that job so badly? When you have this much scrutiny on you, when CNN comes a knocking and they're saying, hey, why'd you say that racist stuff? Isn't it time for you to be like, okay, I gotta go, right? Even if he is sorry, he said it, and he's now causing too much trouble. When you become the story, right? Then you gotta go.
You can't do your job. That's the thing.
So do they get paid a lot? Like, is there some type of power that there's a certain vote that he gets a lot of money if some kind of conflict of interest screwy thing happening? Why is he holding on for dear life to this seat?
Oh, because it's political suicide if he doesn't. I mean, can you imagine if he loses, if he is not the LA City Council member anymore and he has this black mark and it doesn't just go away? I mean, where does he go politically? What the hell is he going to do? I'm sure he had Washington presidential aspirations, perhaps, as most politicians.
I mean, he's an LA City councilman.
Yes, but he's making a name of it. He was at least making a big name of himself within the Democratic Party, Kim. I mean, he, both representing the district that he represents. If he can get some wins in LA, look what he's talking about. Inflation, infrastructure, homelessness. He's trying to put feathers in his cap, and this will not stop following him.
That was the worst apology. If that was meant to be the apology, that was the worst apology I've ever heard. He needs to take a page from Whoopi. He needs to say,
I apologize to everybody.
Listen, what I said was horrible.
Right.
What I said was wrong, and I am so sorry. And I am so embarrassed. And I got caught up in the moment talking to some people that I shouldn't have been doing this. And I have definitely learned that I've hurt people, and that is what I'm very sorry for. Is I'm very sorry I hurt the councilwoman.
Hurt
I
people, hurt
her
people.
son, right? Like it just and he's so focused on himself in the
Oh, I
apology. He's not. Look,
know.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, focus on the people you hurt, not yourself
Exactly.
and your career. You're doing it wrong.
I mean,
Doing it wrong.
Doing it wrong, doing it. Oh, yeah, find that drop. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be able to survive this. But again, and just to put a finer point on this, he is failing in his job right now. They are not able to do the work that needs to be done because every time he steps one foot in the chambers, people drown him out with screaming and yelling. So tell me, Kevin De Leon, how are you serving your district when the council cannot get anything done with you still sitting there? If you were a true, servant, public servant, you would realize that you're hurting your community and you made a mistake. And yes, it was a while ago. And yes, you apologized, but you can't ignore the call for you to step down. And it sucks. But if you own up to it, maybe then time can pass and you can serve in a different way. But it'll be interesting to watch.
This is interesting from Andrew. The orange person led the way from the first leaked tape in the bus.
Yep.
Is that where we are? Like,
Yes.
if you see that Trump got away with saying this ridiculous thing about women and then ended up being elected. So if he can do that, you can do that. Like, you can get away with some horrible thing.
Course.
Is that where the connection is?
Well, and it's also the age that we live in. I mean, we were just talking about Twitter. We know, Kim, how quickly the news cycle can change. And yes, right now it might seem like no one's going to talk about anything else. And those protesters are going to last forever. But who's going to blink first? And I think that's the question. Are people fed up with this narrative of the news cycle changing and they're going to dig in their heels and they're not going to let it go? We'll see. Because that's really what it's going to come down to, is who's going to blink. Is Kevin De Leon finally going to hear people and say, all right, already, I'm gone? Or is he going to be like, nope, some scandal will happen. I know, how this whole machine works, and dollars to donuts, somebody will take the headlines and I'll be able to sneak by and get away with it. I don't know. So we'll see what happens in LA. And again, we have LA Mayor Karen Bass. She has a big announcement regarding homelessness that we were also talking about. Could some positive stories kind of start taking over the headlines? And he's just like, duh, just forget about me and my racist comments and all those sorts of things. I don't know. I hope that he reads the writing on the wall, though, and he does the right thing and steps down, because when you make a mistake, there should be consequences for it. Okay, we're going to do news, and then I have some feel-good stories. Also, here's a question I'll leave you with, okay? And I don't know if you're going to tell me the truth about this, Kim, because in our business, I don't know if we really had the opportunity to do this, but you've worked in other jobs. Have you ever had a quickie during a break at work? She has to think about it. I don't have to think about it. I have never had enough time in my job to go have sex in between breaks, right? No. Do you think it's wrong? Do you think, and you guys can tell me in the live chat as we go to Kim's news, do you think it's wrong if you're in a break? So this is my break. I can use my time. This is my time. That's your time. This is our time. To have sex. Is there something wrong with that? Is there something inherently wrong with having a quickie? Like, I'm going to head home from the office real quick, honey, look cute at the door or whatever. And, you get a little one in, a quick one in, and then you go back to work. Is it wrong?
I have known people working in a hospital for a very long overnight shift who may have taken a little bit of office romance to the call room or back to the academic offices that were darkened and had a little something, but I've never done it myself.
Okay, so again, you're on a break from work. Here's the question. You're on a break. It is technically your time. You're not supposed to be bothered by work because you're on a break. Do you think it's wrong to have a quickie? And I'll tell you why I'm asking about this, because there was one type of worker who was caught. And do you think that this person really did anything truly wrong by having sex?
When I'm on the break having the quickie, am I on company property?
You guys tell me in the live chat. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's my break and I can do whatever I want.
Oh, there was a guy that worked for Station X as an overnight board op, like an engineer kind of guy, who used to entertain ladies in one of the news cars in the garage and was caught on video having some sexo in the news caro and
Are
was
you
fired.
serious?
No, he was relieved of duty.
Was he
Now-
was he working or was he on a break?
Well, you would have to be on a break.
Well, you could put on a very long commercial break, I guess. I don't
Take
know.
your break and do what you got to do. The ladies would come to the
Ooh.
garage and meet him in the news car.
Are these ladies of the night or are they his girlfriends?
I don't know that's too. I don't know. However, I will say that nobody wanted to go down after learning this and like drive the news car. We were like, I don't want to drive that one.
No.
How do you know which one had the sex in it? I don't want to have that
Well,
car.
I'm going to ask another question too. Do you think it's okay? We have to do news, but
Now, see, in this case, it was company property. Now,
That's
had he
true.
gone to the parking lot,
and it did it in his own car.
Perhaps. I don't
Is it
know.
okay to have sex on your break? And let me ask you this:
It's unprofessional.
Is it okay to watch porn at work? If it's during your break, not during work, not during your work hours. Okay, so you guys let me know in the chat. Those
No.
are your two questions. Kim's going to do some news.
You can't subject other workers to that.
Well, that's what Kim thinks, but I think okay, I'll tell you what I think after the news. But okay, quickies on your break at work, porn on your break at work. Are those two things okay? Why or why not? Tell me next. But first, here's Kim.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
I really can't wait to find out what happens, like where this is all coming from. I also have to apologize for my hair because my headphones keep pushing it forward and I look like Elvis. Have you noticed
No,
that?
you look.
It's
It
like
looks.
this big, like
She has
this
the most
big
beautiful
swoop,
hair.
like a pompadour.
No, you look amazing. It's better than me and my 6 head, so you're fine. Just go
No,
with
I
it.
love your hair. You have the cutest, curliest hair.
Sure, it's back
This
there somewhere.
report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. The January 6th committee getting to the truth of what happened during last year's Capitol riot. That's according to the White House. The panel referred 4 criminal charges against former President Trump for his alleged role in the attack. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre calling the riot the worst attack on democracy since the Civil War. House GOP members plan to investigate the January 6th committee that was tasked with looking into the Capitol riot. Wait, they're investigating the investigative committee. Okay. Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy of California, who wants to become the next Speaker of the House, already told the panel his party will start its own inquiry once they take power in January. Republicans have called the Democrat-led committee political theater. So McCarthy is referred for an ethics investigation and then calls for an investigation into the January 6th committee. Okay. Wall Street, starting the week in the red, stocks fell on recession fears for the 4th straight session that were kind of dampening hopes for a year-end rally, really. Losses in the Disney and Amazon shares also weighed on market sentiment today. YouTube says it has removed more than 10,000 videos related to this year's midterm elections over policy violations. The video sharing site said it enforced its policies, including its election integrity policy, regardless of the speaker's public figure status or political viewpoint. Social media and sites like YouTube have been facing scrutiny about letting misinformation spread. A California senator is reintroducing a bill to decriminalize psychedelics in the state. Democrat Scott Wiener making the announcement Monday while speaking in San Francisco. He said these drugs show huge promise when used for things like mental health or for substance abuse. He specifically put a spotlight on veterans, saying the high suicide rate of former members of the military is unacceptable and unavoidable. Within the last couple of years, Oregon and Colorado became the first 2 states in the United States to decriminalize psychedelics. The reason he's talking about putting the spotlight on veterans is because some studies have shown that psychedelics can greatly improve the situation with PTSD. The more study is needed, and medical experts will say there's no proof yet that that's the case. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention changing the growth chart for children now to better track the rise of severe obesity. The old chart had been placed in place since 2000, but needed a change to the body mass index, or BMI, especially for children who were previously off the charts. That's pediatric and endocrinologist Dennis Stein with the UC Davis Med School saying that the CDC extended the growth chart from a BMI of 37 to 60. Former Bachelor host Chris Harrison, set to address his exit from the series in a new podcast. He began hosting the reality series in 2002, left the franchise in June after he defended a contestant's racially charged photo during an interview. The most dramatic podcast ever with Chris Harrison is what it's called. The most dramatic podcast
That's
ever.
because that's what he says every season. This is the most dramatic season ever. That's why it's a whole joke.
It
That's
debuts on January 9th. So you have that.
Well,
too.
I will say this. Ever since Chris Harrison left, I have not particularly cared for any of the hosts, except there were two women, not the two women that just did it, but the other one. I'm blanking on their names right now. They were pretty good. I don't know. Now the guy that they have on sucks. I think the show's days are numbered. If you don't know the story about Chris Harrison leaving, one of the contestants had gone to a wedding on a plantation and were wearing like the plantation kind of dresses. And but then he was like, he was just kind of defending the whole thing. And I think that Bachelor Nation he thought was going to support him and they didn't. And so kind of like Kevin De Leon, he read the room and was like, all right, I'm out. But I think he's pissed about it. Absolutely.
The news sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and businesses. If you need help with your taxes, it's 888-TAX-DEAL or it's MoskowitzLLP.com. You can see it right there. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show.
I'm just hitting all kinds of buttons over here. Sorry, Kim.
Oh, girl.
All right. So we're going to talk about having a quickie. Who in the live chat? Be honest. Anybody in the live chat? Do it. Come home from work, during the break. Is it ever okay to have sex on your break? Now, again, if you're on work hours, I would say the universal answer is no. If you're working, you're not having sex. If you're on a break, should it be okay? I love this. Lori writes in, downtown, went to the hot tubs at lunch in the 70s. Also in private offices at work. No CCTV at work then. I have never, in the history of ever, even thought about having sex at work. Never. Sticky Cola Bud, I would not do it on company property. So, yes. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you this. You were sharing a story, Kim, of someone that would use the company vehicle, which I would assume was parked on company property to have quickies, correct? So this was, company property, company car.
In the company car, in the company garage, where there were cameras. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, you're a dumbass if you're doing something like that. What if you're not? What if you're still in a company car, but not on company property? Would that be bad?
I think it's a bad look. I think if you're caught in your own car on a break in the parking lot at work, it's still an unprofessional look for you. You're representing, when you're at work, be it on a break or not, you're representing that business.
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm talking about this right now, and again, when I ask you about the job that you're supposed to be doing, even if you're on a break, what if you're a police officer? So here is the sound. What happened to a rookie police officer in LA, actually a sheriff's deputy. And they're a rookie. She apparently was a rookie. So I don't know if gender matters to all of you. So this is what was heard by dispatch. Oh, hold on. Let me start it over. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so she says something about her underwear on there. And apparently the dispatcher was trying to warn her. So here is a news report. Again, this is down in LA about what happened to this rookie officer.
Well, one lesson we've learned in this business is sometimes you got to remember when you have your mic on. Well, what an LA County Sheriff's deputy did on an open mic might get her in big trouble. TMZ first reported about a rookie female deputy at the Men's Central Jail having sex with an open mic on. The dispatcher repeatedly tried to get her attention to turn off the mic, but no luck. TMZ said this apparently happened during a break in her shift. The department is investigating. The Sheriff's Department issuing a statement that reads in part, quote, "The department does not tolerate inappropriate behavior and has an expectation that each department member will conduct themselves in a professional manner consistent with our core values.
Okay, so you see that she's there. They have to come out and make a statement. I feel like there's nothing they could do to her that's not as humiliating as her having to go back to work after that.
Oh, I know. I mean,
Like, I don't know if I could ever show my face to those people again. I think I would just be like, you know what? Last day on shift, end of watch, gotta go. That's it.
yeah. I feel
You
like,
can find me at Redondo Police where they haven't heard me doing the do, right?
well, I mean, the TMZ has a story. I'm sure they've all heard her doing the do. It's just, it's one of those things where one, you're a rookie. Like, why do you want to do it? But then, and this is just kind of a side note. I mean, is there just something hot about doing it while you're in uniform or when you're not, the taboo kind of aspect of it? People get off on that. So, do I think that it's okay to come home from the office for a quickie with your partner or your spouse? I think that's fine. I think if you're in a officer's car, probably not a good look. But yeah, if it's your break,
I guess I can see. I can't see having sex in the car, but I can see when you're a police officer, you're likely on a 12-hour shift, right? And the car kind of becomes your home.
I know mine is. I'm not even a cop.
You're sitting in there for 12 hours, unless you're like arresting someone, but you're on patrol. You're staying in there a lot. You know, it becomes like you're rolling house almost.
But
And so
it's
maybe
not.
you get a little too comfy. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's
That is
embarrassing.
highly embarrassing. I think I would look for a new profession and change my name.
I mean, and she's a rookie. I mean, rookie mistake. Don't leave your mic on or whatever on when you're having sex. I wonder if like she accidentally hit it because they were getting kind of busy. And so
we just heard the part about ha ha ha, look at my underwear, right?
Yeah.
We didn't hear like the heavy, hot and heavy stuff.
Oh, I know. And can you imagine being the dispatcher on the other end? Like, yo, whatever your name is, turn off. I mean, because I'm sure she's not the first, nor will she be the last person to do this, but she got caught. And yeah, Ricky O'Bear, no class, not professional, not fit for service. All right, you guys are pretty harsh today. But yeah, I agree. It's a bad look. And what are you saying if you don't punish her? That it's okay to have sex in the car, right? So yeah, Mindy writes, just quit, girl. Yeah. Quit while you're ahead. Go find another job. Okay, I have some feel-good stories. I mean, that one felt good, but these are some feel-good stories that I wanted to give you because we like to end the show on an up note. Did you hear about this baker? His name is Ed Hamilton Truhitt. Okay, he's 55 years old.
True what? True hip?
Truhitt, Hitt.
Okay.
He's 55.
Right.
He has worked in all kinds of high-end baking establishments. Now, this is in the UK. This is out in London. All right. And obviously, in case people don't know, inflation, high energy prices, it's not an American thing. It's happening all over the place. So he has decided to shift from kind of working in these posh luxury type of restaurants to cooking more affordable food. So 9 years ago, he opened up a bakery in rural England, offering enormous scones for less than $1. So he's really trying to provide for people that don't have a lot of money.
Right.
So apparently recently, and I guess in UK, fruit cakes, those types of Christmas cakes are really big. One of his customers came in and said, I can't afford to bake my Christmas cakes this year. Because apparently these cakes, which I did not know because I'm not a baker, they could take up to 6 hours to bake. Like you're baking it for 6 hours because she could not handle the bump on her electric bill. So this guy, and it's just such a sweet story, he is baking people's homemade Christmas cakes in his bakery oven for free. So he says Christmas cakes are a very rich preserved fruitcake, so it's fruitcake, that are commonly given as gifts. They're really dense and require a very slow cooking process. And so there's some debate on whether this is actually true. He could throw in a lot of cakes, even if they're not the exact same cake, into the oven to cook at the same time. His commercial ovens run virtually 24/7 anyway. And the cakes, since they're a personal holiday gift, he wants to do for people over the holidays. He put it on his Facebook page. He said, we'll bake your Christmas cake for free. It doesn't matter. He'll come pick them up if you can't get a car to go out there.
Oh, that's
I just
nice.
love this story. It's so sweet. And at a time when people are just spending so much money on so much crap, this is a good way for him to spend his money. Apparently, one person who lives with her daughter and grandson in a single income household had an energy bill of, brace yourself, $500 a month.
Wow.
So I could imagine people are like, you know what? I'm not gonna bake my cakes. And so, now fruit
Is that
cakes
because
are,
of what's going on in Ukraine affecting the powers all over Europe?
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, energy prices are really high right now anyway, and then that on top of it, is obviously compounding everything. Mo writes in, Christmas cakes are very good in the UK. Cookbook has just been released that sets it up where all 3 shelves of your oven are used, I guess, for proficiency and efficiency and not to have such a high energy bill. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not a baker. I mean, I will bake, but I wouldn't have my oven on for 6 hours to do it. Would you really tell them to turn off the micro? Oh, this is Mike is writing in about us talking about the rookie cop or sheriff's deputy.
That's a good question, though, Mike.
Would you really tell them to turn off the microphone or just keep listening? Well, I mean, that audio was leaked somewhere, wasn't it?
If I'm back at dispatch, I'm gonna keep listening. You saw the one person say, your microphone, but once it's clear that it's on, I mean, we're in stitches in the dispatch department, right?
Yeah, I know.
We're like,
I know.
oh my God, yeah.
But do
and
you
then
try
somebody
to
had the
save
wherewithal to
them?
hit record. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, but
No.
it was a live channel. Like anybody, if you listen to Scanners, could hear this because it was an open line. So it could have been someone at dispatch. It could have been somebody that was just like, oh my goodness, listen to what's happening there. Yeah, because you have to imagine your mic is always hot, right? Don't do anything that can't be caught. And there's cameras everywhere. There are cameras everywhere. Do I have time for this other feel-good story? Everything feels good. Yeah, let's do this one. So there was an upstate New York man who committed a very bad crime, Kim. And it was cold. It was ruthless. I'm going to show you the video of it in just a moment if my computer would cooperate with me. So it's Christmas time. And we always hear these stories of people that have elaborate Christmas displays and Halloween as well. They get stolen. But when you steal a Christmas display, it feels like you should just go straight to hell.
That.
Right? Okay. So here's the video.
I have a friend who just bought these really cool, gigantic ornaments at Costco that light up.
Ooh,
I mean, they're really cool looking. And she put them out. And I thought, I told her, I said, those are getting stolen. That someone's going to walk off with them. They haven't yet. Because she put them up on her porch, not down on her lawn, just because of that.
Right.
But that we have to think, Jennifer Jones-Lee, when she was living in Petaluma, she had her Christmas display. It was Snoopy, like as the Red Baron in the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And it has a Christmas theme. Someone stole it right off her lawn. She was so sad. It was her favorite thing. I just, someone stole my mom. My mom had one of those laser things that shine on your house with the lights that twirl around.
Yeah.
Someone took it off the tree and walked away with it. So it's like, come on.
I don't know where people get off on doing stuff like that. Like, it's not yours.
No.
I don't know what happened to Do Not Steal, but people aren't listening. Well, look at this guy. Here's a video of it. So this guy in the pink hat, let's see if I could play it and expand. It's a quick video. So here you go. Look at him.
What?
And it even knocks the hat off. Yeah. So he just takes the whole thing. Let's see it again.
Like he knocked the whole head off of it.
Yeah, it might have been the head. Oh my goodness. So yeah. So someone's Santa. All right. So that guy stole it. And it was really awful. But get this. Hold on. I wonder if I have the video of it because obviously news people heard of what happened and they were doing a story on it. As this reporter, they don't have video of it, of this exchange. As the reporter was interviewing the woman whose Santa was stolen, the guy walked up. Okay, so this was outside of a restaurant. He walked up And he said, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. I know saying sorry doesn't do anything, but I promise I'll do better. So obviously the video came out. He said he realized his mistake. He had been drinking the night before, celebrating a friend's birthday. He was drunk. He stole the Santa. He saw it. He says, I thought it was cool. I wish I had it. So I took it. Then 24 hours later, he sobered up. He said he realized his mistake and returned the Santa back to the restaurant. He apologized. He brought a dozen roses to say sorry to the owner, Mayra Gallo.
Okay. Yeah.
Gala told the guy she would not press charges as long as his apology was genuine. And as part of the apology, she told him he would have to confess on camera. Oh, so that's how it happened. He had to confess on camera. And he says, I'll do anything I can to make things right. I'll pay for any damages. I'll fix anything I can. I'll work for free. I'll literally do anything to resolve the situation in the most positive way possible. And so she said, okay, you seem genuine. Oh, wait, I think I do have it. Oh, good. Hold on.
I'm going to say he's not a real thief. He was a drunk, stupid guy. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That felt bad the next day. There are people that aren't drunk that are doing it on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I want to play you the news report because it is just so cute. Let me see if I can get this up.
Not that it's ever okay. I'm just saying there's a difference in intent there.
It's not okay, but the fact that he came back speaks volume. Okay, so here we go. Let me share this. It's this video over here. So here we go. Oh, here we go. Volume.
From a restaurant in downtown Greenville. And 7 News reporter Henry Coburn was there when the man came back to apologize to the owner.
On December 11th, the Santa was stolen from this display outside Bonjour, Maine. Days later, the man responsible is coming forward, saying it was a mistake and that he wants to make it right. 'Twas 2 weeks before Christmas, and down on Main Street, the statue of Santa looked just too darn neat.
Just wasn't thinking. I was like, oh, that's cool. Wish I had it.
Melvin was caught on camera taking the Santa statue outside Bonjour, Maine. He says he'd been out celebrating with friends and probably had too much to drink.
Yeah, just celebrating my buddy's birthday. Went out and then just was not thinking at all.
Aww.
And made a terrible mistake.
He says less than 24 hours after stealing Santa, he brought him back.
I was like, Jesus, like, this is horrible.
And today, with a dozen roses in hand,
That's so nice.
to apologize to owner Mayra Gallo. She told Melvin that if his apology was good enough, she would not press charges. Part of the deal was he had to fess up and apologize on camera.
How's the apology been received so far, do you think?
Feel like it's still kind of like up in the air. But I'll do anything I can to make things right, pay for any damages, fix anything I can, work for free. I'll literally do anything to resolve this situation in the most positive way possible.
Gallo said she didn't want to go on camera for this story, that she'd rather spend her 15 seconds highlighting her hardworking staff. But she did give Melvin the best kind of Christmas gift, the opportunity to make things right.
Yeah.
The gift was not lost on him.
Just, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Really sorry. I know saying sorry doesn't do anything, but I promise I'll do better.
Gallo says that because of the apology, she does not plan on pressing charges, but she says she will take Melvin up on his offer to help out around the restaurant.
There you go. That's a good idea, right? Get some free labor. And so I love that story. I do.
If I first was thinking, oh God, your mom must be so proud. But then
You're
I thought,
loud. You're really loud right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I thought, yes, your mom must be proud because you know, everyone makes a mistake from time to time.
Yes.
Maybe not theft, but everyone makes a mistake. So the fact that he did try to make it right and that he sincerely went and apologized and gave it back and did what he could do. I mean, you got to respect the guy for trying the next day to fix it.
Absolutely. And you make an excellent point. It's like we're talking about Kevin De Leon. We've talked about people either owning what they did wrong and sincerely apologizing or not. And this guy, I really do think if you do something drunk, right, and then you wake up and you're sober and your first thought is, how do I make this right?
Yeah. We've all worked with people that make mistakes. And they can't ever admit it.
Right.
They can, and it's like, I just have so much more respect for someone that can admit it.
Exactly. So that is our moral lesson. every day, especially during the holiday season. And leave the Santas alone. Do not steal, people. I don't know why we have to repeat this. It's absolutely insane. All right. Thank you to Kim McAllister and to all of you for participating in the show. Real quickly, before the show ends, please click that thumbs up button. It's just a quick click, just right there, just the thumbs up. It helps us out. We absolutely love it. Thank you to everybody that donated to our super chat. William, thank you for the $20. Stan, the CPA for the $25.
So nice.
Thank you. And Zooey Mama for the $99, 99-cent super sticker. We love all of you. Thank you. And of course, we do have merchandise. The cups are going out. The tote bag, we had Jim who sent us a picture. We have shirts. Go to the Nikki Medoro Shop.com. You can find a link on our website, theNikkiMedoroShow.com, and pick something up and send us a picture, and we'll share it on the show. And we really appreciate all of you so very much. And until tomorrow, bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.